To this day, it actually shocks me that no one watched Dragon Age Absolution. I quite enjoyed it myself, and yet it wasn't renewed for a Season 2 by Netflix, and pretty much every Dragon Age fan I speak to in the community has still not watched it. And yet Cyberpunk 2077 hit the nail on the head with Cyberpunk Edgerunners, causing a spike on a day-to-day basis of 1 million players on the game.
The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
So clearly something went wrong when no one was talking about the upcoming Dragon Age game, Dragon Age the Veilguard, up until the new trailer release, that is. But I suppose we're all wondering, is the new Mass Effect TV show that was announced doomed to share the same fate as Dragon Age Absolution? But I want to know if you think the show actually needs to do well. Let us know in the comments. Some of the other great video game adaptations have done a terrific job of bringing new audiences that aren't gamers to the franchise. Just look at Fallout and The Last of Us, for example. But in order not to flop as a TV show that drives new audiences to the games, what does the Mass Effect TV show actually need? Action and romance. The literal cornerstone of Mass Effect is relationships. The friends you make, the families you forge, and the thrilling action that pushes you to see the journey to its somewhat bittersweet end. And I'm not saying we need to see Vin Diesel Shepard driving in to save the day, summoning the power of family, but these two features are essential to me. And while there was a little bit of that relationship dynamic in Dragon Age Absolution, it certainly didn't feel like a family dynamic between the whole group, in that it was certainly missing a bit of drama. Which brings me to culture and tension. Dragon Age Absolution felt like it was missing the lore that made Origins so fascinating. Playing as a character Origin meant that you know where your character was raised, and so it would make sense as to why you're learning about the wider world. And yet Absolution's main character is already familiar with the world, and with where they're going to Vinter. The city which us players have heard horrific tales about from characters like Dorian should be scary to the main character, because naturally as people we're all scared of the unknown. Take Frodo from Lord of the Rings, for example, or Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. They both have to leave their homes to explore an unknown world, which is equally exciting and terrifying. The Mass Effect TV show needs to teach us about the Mass Effect galaxy, both old fans and new, through an outsider's perspective to the galaxy. Because as an outsider we learn about cultural differences, like Sten and Qunari culture in Dragon Age Origins, or Rex and Krogan culture in Mass Effect. Through cultural differences, just like on the internet, characters in the TV show will naturally have their differences and open up opportunities for drama. And of course, just like any great Bioware game, the show needs a compelling villain. It goes without saying really, but unfortunately in recent years, it's been proven that Bioware struggles a little bit in this area. I found that the gods in Dragon Age the Veilguard were much less compelling villains than Solus himself, who really should have been the main villain. Because Solus, despite being an elf, felt very human, down to earth, flawed. We felt sorry for him, but equally like he must be stopped. And yet he was subjected to a small sequence in the prologue, much like Thanos if you want a popular movie comparison. Can you imagine if we got exactly what we wanted out of a villain from a character like Solus in a villain in the Mass Effect TV show? And who knows, this main villain could then appear in one of the future Mass Effect games, and then hopefully tie into the show again if, you know, there's not a possibility of him getting killed in the game. Because, you know, we don't want a canon, non-canon situation, like with the Dragon Age comics. And of course, one thing that this show really doesn't need, or really shouldn't have, is Shepard, or any mention of canon events. Like I said, I don't care if Henry Cavill or Vin Diesel are great action stars, or that Henry Cavill was leaked to be involved. We don't need to see Shepard in the Mass Effect TV show. We especially don't need to see if Shepard is male or female. Canon events just don't need to be addressed. Exodus did an incredible job in 20 minutes of telling a story of two characters that have minimal impact on the main story, and yet tell us exactly what we need to know about the consequences of our actions in that game. If you want to see our video on that episode, we'll keep it up for you at the end. The point is that episode got us thinking about how decisions affect the world of Exodus. Mass Effect could do the same. It could tell the story of two siblings trying to survive the Reaper War. Or maybe it could just tell the story of events that we've heard about in the Mass Effect trilogy already, like the First Contact War. There's so much untapped potential that doesn't need to involve Shepard or the crew. Or maybe that's where Dragon Age Absolution went wrong. What do you think? Thanks very much for watching this video. Please hit the subscribe or the like button. Me and Tim at TK Games would so appreciate it. But like I said, we have a video on Exodus. It's on screen now. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Craig from TK Games, signing off.